Welcome back here. I'm on page 301 and we're going to go through a example of how to enter a entry from a purchases journal to a accounts payable ledger. So if you look on page 301 at the top, you have the purchases journal, and then right below that it says Crown Distributing, and that would be the accounts payable ledger. As you can see, if you look at the number 1 circled in red with the arrow, you write the date, and in this case it's November 2nd. That November 2nd is the entry date in the purchases journal. So you need to put that same entry date in the accounts payable journal in gold down there, and there's an arrow pointing. The number 2 that's got the red circle around it, that's pointing towards your post reference. You can see that's coming from page 11. So that P11 means purchases journal, and then 11 means the 11th page. Okay, alrighty. Vendor number, you can see that comes from the post reference 230. You would, once you put your entry into the accounts payable ledger, you do got to go back to the purchases journal, and post reference would be 230. That would be the account number for Crown Distributing. Okay, to get to the meat of this then. So you see in the Crown Distributing gold accounts payable ledger, you have a debit, credit, and credit columns, and then a credit balance column. You have 3 of them. Okay. So for this particular entry, if you look up to the purchases on November 2nd, you have a purchases debit and an accounts payable credit of $2,039. Well, we know we are doing nothing with purchases right now, so you need to look at the accounts payable, and the CR next to that means it's a credit. So to put that in there, if you look at number 3 with the arrow down, accounts payable from the purchases journal is a credit. Therefore, we would put it into our accounts payable ledger as a credit there. Okay, so the 2039 goes into the second column, which is labeled credit. All right, and then the column to the right there, the balance column, probably one of the more important columns, keeps our running tally. We would just push the 2039 over to there also. So columns 2 and 3, credit and credit balance, both would have 2039 in them. And the reason for that is accounts payable has a normal credit balance. Okay, if we would put, let's say we have, so if I did another entry, let's say November 3rd for $1,000, and it for whatever reason was a debit in whatever journal I pulled it out of, I would put it in the debit column, and then I would calculate the credit balance overall. And I know a debit and a credit, if they're the opposite, you need to subtract. Okay, so if I took $1,000 away from 2039, my new current balance for credit balance would be 1,039. If I change that next entry to a credit entry, let's say for $1,000, I would add a credit to a credit. I would add $1,000 to the 2,039. It would be 3,039 in the credit balance. So it's just like what we did in the first half of the year with putting numbers in the ledger. If you add and subtract to the balance, if it's credit, you add. If it's debit, you add. If it's a debit to a credit, you subtract. If it's a credit to a debit, you subtract. So hopefully that makes a little more sense. On page 301, it's really going to walk you through. You guys are really going to have to look at those steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on anything we do, because we're just missing that in-class part. But I still think you guys can do a nice job of coming up with this. I'll have another video here for you shortly, finishing up the section.